What's up? This is another episode of the Backstage Sports Podcast. Uh, this is GT being super hyped about this documentary about the second.
And now, from North Carolina, number 23.
Guys,
I like this guy.
I can
this
listen
is
to this all day. I can listen to this all day.
this is JT
Absolutely.
being super excited about the second greatest player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
No, I'm not excited about LeBron James right now. I'm excited about Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Anyway, guys, this is another episode of Backstage Sports Podcast. I'm Joe Connor,
I am JT Harker.
and today we have another very, 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 very special guest, a friend of the Connor family, I can say this time. Mike Cook is joining us for this episode.
What's going on, man?
Welcome, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking time out and doing this and all this. So first and foremost, we were just rapping before we started about how everything is going with being on lockdown like this. How's everything going with you, and how's the fam and the kids and the wife and all of that? What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, things are going pretty well on my end, man. Like you said earlier, it's the same, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Our biggest concern as a family is, my wife is out there in the hospital.
Right.
So she's kind of on the front line. So, me and baby girl, Ava, we definitely been worried about her.
Yeah.
Holding her up and making sure that she's comfortable when she gets home.
Yeah.
But she's out there every day. So, but other than that, things have been great, man. Can't really complain about anything.
So you on your stay-at-home dad tip, like I'm on my stay-at-home husband tip right now, like just like in the crib.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Watching the baby all day, trying to get some work done. Yep.
Yeah, I feel it. Okay, so a little background for those who don't know. Mike Cook is one of the Philly great. If you're from Philly, then you already know this is a special podcast because you know Mike to be one of the Philly greats when he was there playing in high school. And that. Mike played at Friends Central High School, where my sister went. So I spent a lot of time at Friends Central High School just being a basketball fanatic, and following my sister around. I went to the basketball camps there, so I looked up to Mike and the teams that he played on at Friends Central since I was a knee high to a grasshopper, like they used to say. So Mike was a part of the golden era for me for high school basketball and high school basketball at Friends. He was on the Epic team with him and Mustafa Shakur and Hakeem Ward. And it was like the eyes of Philly basketball was on Friends Central, as well as just around the nation, because you had Staff as the number one recruit as far as point guards go. You had Hakeem, you had Mike. So everybody was paying attention to what was going on in Philly high school basketball. And I had a front row seat, like hanging around these guys. My sister was like a manager for the team, I think. I went to the basketball camps. I got to work out with some of these guys. I did a couple workouts with Staff and got to I would go and watch them practice and stuff like that. So it's a real treat for me because I was looking up to these guys for a long time and a lot of stuff that they did. So a little background, they won two championships. Was it that time? It was a huge thing. Mike graduated from Friends as the school's all-time leading scorer, led the team to 2 titles, then went to college, was named to the Conference USA All USA team as a freshman, ranked second on the team in scoring, posted the league's highest scoring average as a freshman, then went to the Big East, was ranked 15 in the Big East in field goal percentage, won the Big East championship with Pitt in 2008. I can go on and on about everything that Mike has been doing. But so it's a pleasure and honor to have Mike here. So Mike, just tell us a little bit about that time and your journey going through everything that went on through high school to being recruited, going to college, and then going pro. and then kind of walk us into like what's going on now, what you're working on now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thank you for showing me in the program so much love. Just starting from high school,
Yeah,
it was definitely a blessing to have an opportunity to go to a school like Friend Central.
yeah,
I never even heard of private school, right? I never even thought that I would be able to even go to a private school. It was just something that was foreign to not only me, but people from my neighborhood.
yeah,
So when I got the opportunity, it's a little different now, but my dad was heavily involved and said, you're taking it, right,
right,
regardless of what I wanted to do. And that came about because of basketball, right?
right,
When you talk to former players, you always hear things about basketball as a tool, right?
yeah,
And you want to use it as a tool, and that's kind of what I've done throughout my life.
mm-hmm.
So yes, I had a lot of success on the court, but basketball has afforded me opportunities to go places that I never thought that I would be able to go, right?
Right,
Um, from as you said in high school, really successful high school campaign, played with some really great people. But the most important thing about my time in high school was that when I got to Friend Central, along with my father, we shared the wealth,
mm-hmm.
right? So it wasn't just about me being there; it's about bringing on Hakeem,
Right,
bringing on Mustafa, bringing
right,
in Shadi, London, right? And it's
right,
of course we want to win championships as best team,
right,
but from my dad's perspective, it was about giving everyone an opportunity to kind of share in that glory. And throughout the years, it kind of trended, and with the Emil Jefferson, DeAndre Hunter, right?
yeah.
First Central became a hot spot for really talented players.
Yeah, you guys
Um,
kind of started the crack that let the flood out over there
hmm
because I started hearing about new talent, young guys coming from there. And before, we wasn't really hearing about that coming out of Friends, you know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, high school was definitely a special time for me. And then lucky and fortunate enough to receive a Division I scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to play at a high level in Conference USA at the time. When I was there, we had Louisville, Cincinnati, Marquette,
Yeah,
Memphis. Right, it was a top 5 conference at the time. It's a funny story about Conference USA. I was actually waiting for Dwayne Wade to decide on whether or not he was going to go to the NBA draft or not.
oh
This
wow,
is after they went to the Final Four, and I was going to step in
yeah,
to his position. And
wow,
anybody that knows me, D Wade is probably my favorite player
yeah,
of this era, aside from Allen Iverson, of course.
yeah,
Um, so that didn't work out. I had some other options, but my dad was like, "We going to East Carolina." Right. So I went down there. I had an opportunity to kind of have my own team.
yeah,
I had a rough start to my freshman year, but in the middle of my freshman year, um, something just clicked. Right.
yeah,
Something just clicked, and I started to average about 15 to 17 points, and that really brought my average up to
yeah,
whatever I finished with that year. And then my sophomore year at East Carolina, it just kind of carried over. And I had a really good year. We lost a lot of games.
yeah,
Coaches got fired, um, and then that's when it was time to move on to the Big East. That's how I ended up at Pitt.
yeah.
Um, you know,
That was a
went
big
in.
now that was a big jump for you, and I know because of the BS NCAA rules, you had to
Mhm,
sit out a year. What was that
mhm,
like, and dealing with the sitting out and making that jump into that pit stage?
Yeah, and I think this is where my parents and just my mentors deserve a lot of credit. Right, I took full advantage of that opportunity to you know I think I had like a 3.2 that year. Right, I
Mm,
never achieved that because my schedule was light. I didn't have to travel with the team. I was only practicing. I didn't go to away games. Right, so I
yeah,
took advantage of the opportunity to be a regular
yeah,
student and really challenge myself to see what I could do. It gave me a year to get to know the guys
hmm,
on the team before I just jumped right in and fill the role. And also gave me a year to mature. Right.
hmm,
I remember a lot of people asked me why would I transfer. I was the man in Conference USA.
hmm,
I probably won't play at Pitt. And I actually went in there and started.
right,
Both years there. Um, So I mean, it was just a great jump for me. For me, it just made the most sense
Yeah.
for my game and where I thought I could be potentially, and I just took it.
Mm-hmm. Dope. Okay, so I wanted to get into a little bit of what's going on with Jalen Green. I know you guys have you guys heard about what's going on with him?
Yeah, a
Let's get
little
it
bit.
signed to the G League.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So Jalen Green is the nation's number one high school prospect,
Mhm.
and he decided to make the jump from away from college and go straight into the G League.
Yep.
And the new G League's professional route, I guess, that they're taking now, where they're
Yep.
they're paying elite prospects $500,000 or plus or more
Mhm.
for a 1 year deal in their development program. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? I'm interested to hear what you would have done in that same situation if you were playing in there, because I know you spent some time in the G League, so I would love to hear about you know what you think about doing that, and what did you get from being down there, from being in the G League.
Well, first of all, I think it's great for Jalen and any top recruit in the country, right? Um, Basketball is such a big business,
Yeah.
and although you don't get paid until you become a professional, there are people that are making millions of dollars off of your name and your talent
Right.
from the age of 10 or 12 sometimes,
Right.
right? So I'm definitely happy for these kids. I was having a conversation the other day. These kids are doing basketball way better than we did, right? Just
Yeah.
the business side of it.
Yeah.
They, whether they're sitting out games or um, looking to go pro right out of high school to the G League or go
Yeah.
overseas to prepare for the NBA, right? They're just handling their business a lot better
Yeah,
than
because a lot of
than
these
we did.
guys is coming in. Social media has changed stuff so much that a lot of these guys is coming in with these
Hmm.
huge fight before Zion Wilson ever signed on a dotted line to get any endorsement or any type of money off his likeness. He had 1 million Instagram followers, and people watching his videos on YouTube.
Hmm.
So a lot of these kids is coming in with brands already established, and they're already business minded and thinking like, how can I
Hmm.
monetize this? And I think that that's what Jalen Green is
Yep.
doing, and I love that he's doing that, because we did a podcast, a review on the Scheme. I don't know if you've seen the Scheme on HBO, but we
No,
did a
I did. I
little
missed it.
check it out. We did a review on the Scheme, and it was basically just talking about the corruption in college sports, especially college basketball. And a lot of it is really just sticking in here, because you see the coaches and you see everybody surrounding the sport making money, the agents, the managers, everybody's making money except for the players, except for the people who's
Uh-huh.
keeping the engine running. So I
Hmm.
think I think this is actually, as soon as I saw it, I text JT and I was like, dude, I think this is way bigger than what people are making of this. Like, I think that this can really change the tide of college sports for a long time. If
Yeah.
Jalen Green is the crack that opens the flood to more number one prospects, more top 10, top 20 players saying, I'm gonna go make some money and
Right.
then go to the league.
Right.
Hey, hey, Mike, can I ask you a question? Because
Absolutely.
obviously you played the game at a higher level than me and Joe. You know, I was around some really good players, played against Tyson Chandler, played
Okay.
against Chuck Hayes in high school, played against great players, but of course Tyson went straight to the league. Chuck went and played at
Yeah.
Kentucky. But,
Yeah.
obviously East Carolina might be a different story than when you go to a bigger program. But when you went to Pitt, what do you, if you had to guess right now, or let's say in the last 15 years, when you're talking about especially the big time conferences and the big time programs, what percentage of guys do you think are getting paid to be there?
Hmm.
And is it more prevalent than we think it is, or is it less, but those guys that are getting paid are just getting
Yeah.
well compensated?
I think it's less. I think it's less.
Oh,
I think the guys that are getting paid, you probably know about. right? You've heard about
Yeah.
them. They're just making a bigger deal out of them.
Hmm.
I know when I got to Pitt, I had a meeting with Coach Dixon, and he just came flat out and said, "You don't take money from boosters. You don't get involved with right." So I think a lot more of those conversations are being had at that level than not, because when our parents send us to these schools, these coaches are responsible for us, right? These coaches know that there's one step below the NBA or overseas or wherever the kids want to play, and
Hmm.
because you have an opportunity to make so much money, the majority of the coaches try to protect you and make sure that nothing is kind of janky on your record when it's the time to get ready for the draft or whatever your route may be.
Hmm.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
so so you think overall it's because what we all say when something comes out is we all tend to go, well, this is what just came out. And when you find one thing, usually that
There's
means
more.
there's a lot more, which is
Hmm.
probably true. But you're saying where our minds go, which is, oh my God, all these big programs are doing it. It's probably
Hmm.
less than that, but the guys that are getting paid are getting well taken care of. Are we talking about the top 10 in the country? More,
I,
less?
I honestly don't know who's being taken care of and who's not. I'm just saying that the guys that you hear about on TV,
Hmm.
for instance, if a coach plays this player, that's probably the
Yeah,
player that is getting paid, right?
right. The
Um,
obvious.
the obvious players,
Yeah,
or the obvious situations, right?
yeah.
I think that players, you know, are there's a small percentage of players that are at the elite level where they're one and done,
Hmm.
right? The rest of the players are 3, 4 year prospects.
Right, right,
And those players aren't given enough credit for being smart enough and responsible enough to not give
Right.
in to temptation or
Right.
take the bait.
right.
And not saying the players that are taking the money aren't smart, right? It's a business. People want to make, if
Yeah.
the money is going to change your family, take it, right? And the
Right.
NCAA has to figure that out. That's not on the player that's coming from nothing to figure it
Right.
out. It's for the
Yeah.
NCAA to figure out. But the majority of the people aren't taking money, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Right.
You want to hop into that, Joe, with the whole players getting paid thing?
Yeah, because my thing, and we talked about this a little bit on the scheme review, but my thing is, this is something that I think has to happen. I think it's I think what's going on with the NCAA is criminal in a lot of ways. I think this it's the only industry in America where the product is not being compensated. Like the people
Yep.
that's making the engine go is not being compensated. And if we see, these things happening anywhere else in the world, people is up in arms about it. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? It's protests. Don't use your iPhone because it was made in China and they was getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's turned up, but this is happening here. This is happening
Right.
right under our noses, and it's like everybody's just walking around like people don't care. But it's like a lot of these kids.
Yeah, and I think that's. Go ahead. Sorry, JT.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I just think that has to do with perspective,
Yeah.
right? The world doesn't respect the world of sports as a
Right.
profession, and that's just the bottom line. If we ever open up the books and see how much money that these programs are bringing to the school, and let's just put it out, we're only talking about basketball and football, right?
Right. For real.
The
Yeah.
two sports that we're talking about,
Yeah,
they're
you eat what you
generating so much
kill. Like
money,
I'm not down for the
and
volleyball team to get paid and the soccer
yeah,
team. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, you get what you bring in.
Right.
I remember personally my junior year, we won about 33 games, 30, 30 games, 31 games.
Hmm.
I think it was the most wins in school history or something like that. But we had some really exciting players,
Hmm.
and Pitt was able to raise the SAT requirements,
Hmm.
right? Raise tuition, right? It started working on a more strict um, kind of requirement schedule because they were getting that level of student now because they wanted to view the athletic programs, right? It was
Right.
becoming like Duke, right? When
Right.
you rank number one and number two in the country, the brightest students want to come there and watch the games, have fun, party, right? Meet you, and I think that you should be paid for that,
Right.
right? If you go to a science fair and you draw the same attention and you're bringing in the same revenue to the school, you should be paid for that as well.
Right.
So it's not just athletes deserve to be paid. We have access to the, like, we're smart. We have access to those numbers. We know we're breaking into the school.
Right.
We kind of know, we see the, $12 million or however many dollars a year that you get from playing in this conference or being on TV, right? We see that per game, right? So we see these things and we just try to, we stay out of limelight. We don't like to argue about it, but deep down inside, we definitely think that, athletes should be paid.
Yeah, it's interesting, and what I haven't even thought of this either since we've been talking about this, but Olympic athletes, generally speaking, are also supposed to be amateur athletes, even though that's ridiculous. And there's a lot of money being made off the Olympics, and
they can make money from their likeness,
right? And the athletes aren't really. That's why everybody wants to go and have the big story, because if you get the big Michael Phelps story or whatever that big story is, you get those endorsements after the Olympics. But leading up to it, you're not supposed to be making money. That seems crazy. That's another story, obviously. But with college sports, it's just ridiculous to call them an amateur athlete. You're at the very youngest, 17 years old, going on 18 years old. You're legally an adult. You can go fight in war and defend your country and die, in war. You can go. Yeah. You can get hired by Google to be their next brainchild and make them gazillions of dollars, and they'll pay you to do that. But
they'll pay you to do it.
But you can't play for a university that's making millions of dollars, the NCAA that's making millions of dollars, and they expect you to do it for. Now, I'm not saying they're doing it for free, because big time athletes do get compensated in a way, but not in a way that's matching at all, in a way that's fair compared to what the what the higher ups are making.
Yeah, they're not getting a piece of the pie that everybody else is eating out of. When your coach is making $4 or $5 million a year, and you can't even, and that's the thing. I don't even like the term student athlete. And Mike, you can speak to this because you've lived it. But from my perspective and from everything I've heard, they're asking you to be a professional. They asking you, and I heard that a lot of these guys, they can't even go get work study jobs or go get enough. They don't have time to. So just talk to us a little bit about that and how much of the student athlete label is really a reality, or is it more like what a lot of us think from the outside looking in, that you guys are really, young professionals. You guys are really like in the minor leagues in reality.
Yeah, and I honestly think that starts at a younger age. Even when I was coming up through AAU, when you think about you're playing every weekend, you're traveling to Vegas, you're traveling to Georgia, Florida, right? You're playing these big time tournaments. You're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to sponsor you, right? It's not an amateur sport. Like you said, your coach in college is getting paid millions of dollars.
Right.
But as far as the student athlete thing, I do think that there are professional responsibilities. The student athlete never really bothered me that much, and it still doesn't. But I just, I think that is a way to kind of tie down and hold back what a person can do as far as making money off their likeness. You can't really sign autographs outside of a game or something that's being monitored, because they never know if you're doing it for money, right? There's just a lot of things that you kind of have to be careful. Yeah, you can't have a job, and it has nothing to, even if you did have free time, you wouldn't be able to get a job.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
So while people say athletes shouldn't get paid, if they provide the opportunity for athletes to get paid working for FedEx in the summertime or something like that, I don't think there would be as many complaints about it.
Right.
Mike, it's interesting too, because the other discussion Joe and I have talked about a lot is it's unique, because in the NBA you've got, 32 teams. They're all professional teams. They all have billions of dollars behind the organization. It's a different situation. But then you have Kentucky, and you have no disrespect to my hometown, but San Jose State. You know what I mean? And you're in a unique position because you went to East Carolina, very tiny school, and then you went to Pitt. So in those two different situations, from your experience, as they implement, because we know it's going to happen, some sort of format for student athletes to get paid, especially, let's say, basketball and football, should it be a percentage of what the program is making, or should it be based on if that program's even making money at all? I don't know if East Carolina is making any sort of real profit from their basketball program. We know Pitt is.
Right.
But what do you think as far as should it be different for different schools? Should we have tiers of the high majors to the high mids and and just like 6 different sections of universities? Or
Yeah, that's definitely percentage of what the school is making. You don't want to bankrupt the school, right? You don't want to have people resenting athletes because they're draining the school's budget. You want it to be fair for everyone, and I think that all athletes would agree with that, right? It's corporate America, right?
Right.
So if it's a big company, the employees are going to get paid more. If it's not, then they're not. But something has to be put. Something has to be put in place to kind of balance that out.
No, that's great. And speaking to that, let's just say a Pitt. I mean, it's about as big of a basketball program as it gets, right? It's consistently a top 10, 15 basketball program. If you're going there, and I have no idea what these numbers are, but let's say Kentucky makes, I don't even know. What do you think they make a year on the basketball program? Is it 50 million? Is it 40 million? Are they making 100 million? I really have no idea.
Might be
probably closer to 100.
I'm about to say it might be upwards of 100.
So let's say 100 million. What do you think's fair for each guy on that Kentucky roster? Is it like, because when someone says, oh yeah, that player should get paid $75,000, it sounds crazy. That's because that sounds crazy to think that you're going to go to college and they're going to give you $75,000 to be there as an 18-year-old kid. But is it fair? And is that the type of numbers you think should be happening?
I mean, if you ask me what I think, 6 figures. But realistically, I think athletes would be happy with getting 30, 40,000 a year.
Right.
Right. I always, we always struggle with this thing where you see me on TV. I'm doing interviews. I had a great game, and then I go back and I can't eat what I want.
Yep.
Right. I got to cook some noodles. I got to boil some hot dogs, right. So it's kind of a facade of what goes on TV, and what the reality is. A lot of us don't come from much, right? And $30,000-$40,000 a year is a lot of money for us. Especially when we don't pay bills or we don't have any real responsibilities. But more importantly, it would give athletes an opportunity to learn how to budget, to learn how to, deal with credit, a savings account, right? How to handle a checking account. There are just so many things that an athlete can learn outside of the game if they were paid and given those responsibilities.
Right. Not to mention a lot of them being able to, at the very least, help their families who have, I mean, let's be honest. Joe and I talk about this all the time. I got 2 boys, and my older one plays basketball. He lives up in Spokane, Washington. But my little one, he was doing travel basketball as like a 5-6-year-old kid on this 7-8-year-old basketball team. And it was fun, but man, $500 per season, $600 per season.
Yeah.
And that was a discounted rate. And that's starting that young. I don't make a lot of money like my dad did. I don't have money for that. So it's like a lot of these families, because if he was going to be a basketball player, he's really a baseball player. But if basketball was his future, I would find a way to pay that. And before you know it, I'm 10, 15, 20,000 more in, because then you got private. I'd do whatever it took if I felt he had the ability to go play D1 and possibly pro. You put whatever you have into it as a parent. So by then, they've struggled to get you there, and then you're going to go to college. You're struggling to eat still in college, and we're sitting here hoping that maybe you go pro or you can go get some sort of job. I mean, some sort of job making $70,000 a year.
And then if you don't go pro, you have no job training,
right?
Because you weren't able to work, right?
Your only real job training, not all the time, but a lot of the time, has been sports.
Yeah, because
you and your family have invested everything into that.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I think it needs to be a percentage, because first of all, I think a percentage you can make uniform, right? So you can make that whatever that, and I think that helps to balance out. Like, okay, they might be bringing in $200 million a year, but maybe that smaller university is bringing in $2 million a year.
Yeah.
So I think that if there's a percentage, if I'm just getting 20% of it wherever I go, I think that kind of makes it a little more fair. And I think that it needs to be a percentage because of the fact that there's so many different levels to this, as far as college is and what the different incomes are, what the different revenue streams are. Because some of these schools might just from ticket sales do 50 million or something like that, but they might have a TV deal that's upwards of $200-300 million or something like that, right? The big blue bloods and all of those programs. So I think if say you're at Pitt and they have these huge TV deals, as well as what they're making off your likeness, off the jerseys with your numbers on them, you should get a piece of all of that, right? So I think a percentage is something that they should really think about, and that's something that they can implement tomorrow, and then figure it out from there. So, so I wanted to get your question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JT.
You just made me think of this while you were saying that. Also, the NCAA. The NCAA is making a shit ton of money. The NCAA is making gazillions of dollars.
Paying money, man.
So that's a percentage, and that could be set for. That could be a higher percentage for certain programs too that are bringing in some of the money. I don't know, or it could just be every D1 basketball player is getting this, and it may not be a lot of money, but it's a hell of a lot more money than they're supposed to get right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They print money. So with this thing that's going on with Jalen Green, what would you, if you, JT, you're a parent, Mike, you're also a parent. What would you be telling your kid to do at this point? So say let's go in the future. Your kid is a top recruit coming out of high school. You have him being recruited by all the Blue Bloods, all the big name schools, but now you also have this new shiny path over here where they can go and be in the G League and right away play and get experience, and they can also get paid. What are you doing, and what do you think? And Mike, I would love to hear what you think the value of this is as someone who actually played in the G League.
I think the value is tremendous. You're playing in front of NBA scouts every night. The NBA team owns your team, so someone will be there. In my case, I was coming off of that, horrific knee injury, and I missed the draft. I missed all the pre-draft workouts, but I was still given the opportunity by a scout from the Cavs to play on the Erie Bayhawks. Even though I was still rehabbing and still wasn't clear to play, but whenever I was healthy, I was, I would have the opportunity to play on the team. And it's just a tremendous opportunity, right? For instance, a scout is there every day in practice. You have NBA GMs and executives visiting practices periodically throughout the season. You have a showcase game. And more importantly, you're being paid. You're finally being paid to do what you want to do at 18, 19 years old. And, not only is the money great, but as we said earlier, the lessons of just being in that world, the professionalism, the business of it. You don't have to worry about going to class, right? You can just go to the gym and work out all day, until you make it to the big leagues and make the amount of money that he's projected to make. I think the sky's the limit for that kid. I've seen a few highlights on Instagram, and I've watched a few games. But for a kid like him, I think it's a great opportunity. And any kid that has potential, I would definitely encourage to definitely take that route.
Yeah, it's really interesting because one thing that me and Joe have become so good friends, obviously we work together, but we've had so many talks about sports, right? And our passion for sports. But one thing we've always been open about is like the issue of race, right? So when I was being raised, obviously I'm white. I was raised in suburbia, went to private schools my entire life. My dad, very, very successful guy. And I never even thought about these things. I mean, when they started talking, they've been talking about college guys getting paid for a long time. It's been, I remember that UCLA team that won a chip with the O'Bannon brothers. People were talking about it. And then I think it was Charles O'Bannon, I think, was the one that was in the lawsuit forever, right? Yeah. But in my situation, you never even thought about those things because you knew that you could go to college, and then you knew you could pay your way through college, and knew everything was going to be fine.
Right.
But, and also being that like college had this, I didn't end up going. I played community college basketball, had some knee injuries, and decided to start doing music. Right. but my dad always, like, college sports was such a big deal to him. And I think a lot of that had to do with, you know, the older generations growing up. Pro sports have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we go along, but like college sports were like this big deal. And now as a parent, all I think about, if my son ever gets an opportunity to play college, that he has to go do it. And partly is because I didn't really do it. I didn't go play big time college sports. But the truth is that now, as a dad that's been broke his entire adult life, if my son, and even we're talking about one player, Jalen Green, but at some point it might be 15, 20, 30 guys that have the opportunity to do this.
I think there's going to be, I think we're going to see a lot more of this as opposed to just this being a one-off thing.
Right. Because players are becoming more ready. They're more ready physically, and they're more skilled, and they're more ready up here because they've been trained now by the time they're 7, 8 years old.
Right.
So in the position I'm in right now, I say 100%, if I had an 18-year-old son that has the opportunity to go do that, he's going to go do that. Because you don't know if that money's going to be waiting for him when he gets done with school.
Yep.
Even if he's a one and done, you don't know. Injury, he may not pan out that first year. He's getting $500,000 to go play. You go play. But I will say, if in 2 years, music's making money, we're touring, Joe, we're making big money, it may not be the right decision, but in that position, I want my son to go to college. If he has the opportunity to go play at North Carolina or go play for Coach K, it just, maybe it's not the right decision. Maybe he should just go get paid, but it just seems like you can't pass that up.
You're in a position where you can make that decision. Absolutely.
Right. And that's really what and that's why.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, man. I mean, you know, for me and a lot of other guys, it was, if I didn't get a scholarship, I wasn't going to college, right? Because we couldn't pay for it. You know, in high school, my grades weren't the strongest, right? I had nothing really going for me but, you know, basketball. You can't get into school off your charm, right? There's nothing else besides what's on paper and what you could do on the court. So, you know, I definitely respect his decision. Any other younger guys that are going to take that route, and I definitely, you know, they have my support 100%.
I think that this is going to be a situation where we'll see people really consider it, like y'all was saying, depending on what position they're in. But I think that, you know, this being an option now is, like you said, I think to me, the pros outweigh the cons as far as going to that G League route, because like they say, it's no training like actually being there and doing it. And I think that you're going to be in that environment. You're going to be able to start to build your financial future in the right way. And like you said, you're going to be able to still, and I think a lot of the light that the NCAA has, like JT, you were talking about, you know, having the opportunity to play for the big name coaches and be, you know, in the tournament, be on those big games, on those big stages. I think a lot of that will shift with the players shifting, right? If Zion Williamson had signed with, you know, the South Bay Lakers, people would be watching the South Bay Lakers on ESPN, and his games would be on ESPN. You know what I mean? So I think that I think that if players start to go this direction, you'll see
true.
You'll see the eyeballs and the cameras and the TV deals go right with them. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be something to watch. Okay, we got to move. We're going to go.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Mike.
I think more importantly, you know, players get an opportunity to learn the NBA game, and that was one thing going into the G League now that you know, not only my coaches but scouts were preaching to me. Right? Yes, you can play at this level, but will you learn the game fast enough? Right? I was an older guy when I came out, so it wasn't about potential and what you could do in the future. It's about what you can provide right now.
Right.
I was coming off an injury, right? So how fast would I? Right. So there's a lot of things that kind of get fast tracked by going the D League or G League route. That kind of benefits the athlete. When you go to college, you can stay in the paint forever on defense.
Right.
Right. In the G League, the NBA and the G League, they teach you about 2-9. Right. Stay in the paint for 2.9 seconds, get out. Mm-hmm. Right. 24 seconds on the shot clock. By the time you get the ball to half court, it's probably 18.
Right.
As soon as you get that ball, you got to be an option. right? In college, you got 30, 35 seconds, right? It's a little more time, right? So there's just different things,
Yeah.
a different mindset that you have at the two levels, and the G League route kind of fast tracks that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's dope. Okay, we're gonna move. So on Sunday premiered a documentary about the second greatest player in the history of basketball. Some of you might know him as Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Mhm.
I want to get your initial reaction to. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
It's so weird when the music just comes on like that. It's so crazy.
This when I hear that, I think about Space Jam.
I love it. I love it.
There's Ahmad Rashad. It is taking me back. It's taking me back a little bit to
No, I love that.
sitting in the kitchen
greatest,
with my dad.
This is the greatest music any team has ever had.
Of all time.
We're
I
gonna use that as an
definitely agree
intro
with
to
that.
a show one day.
You know what? I'm gonna wake up to this every day. I just decided right now. I'm gonna wake up
Good
to this
move.
every day, and I'm gonna document it on Instagram every damn day.
It'll get you turned up. It does. It does. Like,
Right.
Whew.
yeah. So what was your initial reactions to the documentary on Sunday?
Right. Well, first off, the wife and I, we've been watching a lot of Housewives and Marriage and Medicine. Sunday,
It's probably refreshing.
it was a wrap for all that. My initial reaction was, of course, excitement. Michael Jordan's the greatest player ever, but Scottie Pippen was my favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
I was just excited to actually see, those games and those moments again, but also learn a little bit about, what went on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
At the time, I was 13 or 14 years old, so I didn't really understand what, Jerry Krause was doing.
What year were you born, Mike?
84.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I didn't really understand what was going on and why they broke up and why Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen was so upset, right? I didn't understand at that time. But just to hear, even at the end when Jordan said, I felt like Scottie was being selfish.
That
right?
was crazy to me.
I
got so many bones to pick with Mike, and that was one of them. But go ahead.
It was just sort of a revelation to actually hear from people, and hear from Jerry Krause, just hearing that that type of mindset, right?
Yeah.
Where, you just won 3 straight championships and you're saying we have to rebuild because, Jordan's 35 and, Scottie Pippen was making $2.8 million or something like that.
Yep.
And Phil Jackson only got $6 million, right? It's just kind of like the NCAA. You're undervaluing the product
Yep.
that you have, when it should be the opposite, right? You reward people for their hard work and for the things that they've done for you and your organization.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's as a big MJ guy. I mean, I was talking about my son playing basketball and really focusing on baseball now. I was a really good baseball player when I was young, like him, but I fell in love with basketball when I was probably, it was happening over time, but 5th, 6th grade, all because of Michael Jordan. Because of Michael Jordan. Like the NBA was big. I liked Larry Bird. I liked Magic. I liked Reggie Miller. Michael Jordan happened. All I cared about was playing basketball. And I was a guy that was never gonna be taller than 5'10", decent athlete, not amazing athlete, and that's what I chose to do all the way through high school.
Yeah.
But so I was all wrapped in it, and me and Joe go back and forth. I mean, he knows I'm an MJ guy. Obviously, he's a LeBron guy. Great arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
But I was the same way. I never thought about why it ended. Michael retired, and he came back as a much older guy, still good, but not the same with the Wizards. And it's just insane to me. The crazy thing that I never really truly realized until watching it the other night was that Jerry Krause really was the mastermind behind putting the whole situation together. But then he was the reason it fucking ended. So it's like I have mixed feelings because he actually, even though they weren't like, he did a great job putting the right pieces around Michael that he needed. He didn't have, he had Scotty, he had Dennis Rodman come through. He didn't have amazing Hall of Fame talent around him all the time, but he had the right pieces for what Phil Jackson was doing, the right pieces for what they needed. He did a fantastic job, but then he just seems like a little asshole too. He just seems like a little man syndrome dick.
Yeah, he was.
And then it ruined because they were poised. They could have gone and won 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But to me, that was part of one of the bones that I had to pick, right? And the theme of this part of the podcast for me today.
Hold on, I missed what hey Joe.
Yeah.
I missed what you just said. You broke up for that whole thing.
Oh, I said that's one of the bones that I had to pick with Jordan, right? To me, the theme of this, watching this for me was keep that same energy, right? So I feel like Jerry Krause definitely had the little man. He definitely had a Napoleon complex. Like it was something wrong with him. And with any type of situation where, you know, there's success going on and you start to see people kind of have this tug of war for the spotlight and the love and the appreciation and the accolades.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in sports, that happens in music, that's why the greatest bands of all time never stick together, right?
Yeah.
You see it happen.
Yeah, so but the GM's not supposed to do that.
Yeah. They're not, but nobody's supposed to do it. No one, it just happens. Like, you know, it's a human thing. No one's really supposed to do it. And it happens. And the bone that I had to pick with Mike was, like you said, they could have won more titles, right? So did Jerry Krause end it or did Michael Jordan end it? Because the only person he said is not going to be there anymore was going to be Phil Jackson. That was it, right?
Well, yeah, but he knew Scottie Pippen wasn't going to be there anymore either. Yeah, but he knew Scottie wasn't coming back either. So now you're losing your guy and you're losing your coach. You've won 6. Your dad died. You came back. You have nothing else to prove.
But
like what? You're going to fire a coach who just won 6 championships?
I feel you.
Repeats. It's never been done since the Celtics. You're an idiot. I'm out. I'm Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everyone knows MJ's got an ego, and man, he lets Jerry have it. He just is. When you're watching this footage, he's always on Jerry's ass. Oh, you want to? You come shoot too? I'm gonna have to lower the hoop.
Yeah.
It's like, jeez, man. Like he just never let up on him.
Yeah,
like,
and
he was a dick, but you know he's MJ.
I think at that level, man, if the trust isn't there, right, you just can't play for and with a person because at the end of the day, yes, you're winning the championships, but the Chicago Bulls are also winning the championships, right? And if they're going to treat their players and you know my teammates and my friends, my family like this, I don't want to be a part of it, right? So I think there's a big reason why MJ kind of stepped away. He was just like, you can't treat people like this, right? You can't have a coach that's winning us 6 championships and we're going at least to the conference finals every year. And then you want to let them go.
Especially because it's not like they were the Lakers. They were awful before MJ got there. They went from awful to in the playoffs every year and then winning championships. I mean, just from getting, I mean, but again, it wasn't one guy, but he changed the complete, he certainly made him more money right from the get-go because he was the talk of the NBA from the moment he stepped on the floor.
Right.
And from there, their fortunes just changed.
And I think a big part of it, man, is, just to be completely honest, and I may sound like a jerk for saying this, when you look at the dynamic now with a guy like LeBron, right, how much power he has, there are just more athletic people, former athletes that's involved in the front office. Right. So LeBron comes in there and says something.
That's a good point.
Can relate to him. Yeah. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
He probably never played sports at a certain level. He only had a business. Mindset.
But what was amazing about that is I knew that about him. What I didn't know is that he was a really good scout of talent.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right, which is crazy because usually not all those guys are. They're more on the business side. But that's why I'm torn about it because he made great draft picks. They did the Tony Kukoc thing. He brought in the pieces, but then
I just feel like we, in the same breath for us saying, oh, they could have kept winning titles. then we have to keep that same energy and go, okay, what happens if Jordan stays and they revamp it? You see what I'm saying? Like it really, to me, this is something that in today's media circus, imagine if LeBron walks away from a team that just won another championship because they said we're not renewing your coaches. Can you imagine what they would say about how he would get raked over the coals for him to say he wanted to leave Cleveland after the owner was ridiculous as far as making transactions.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And he got murdered for that.
I don't think he got murdered for leaving. I think he got murdered for teaming up with Dwayne Wade. I think that was
in Cleveland they murdered him for leaving though.
That was the fans. The fans. LeBron James leaves, the economy leaves. Right. So that's the fans.
It's tough to it was tough to blast Michael at that point though, because he was at an age where it was like, yeah, he probably had 2 more years as being arguably the best in the game, but he was at an age where retiring wasn't. It wasn't like it was unheard of.
Right.
And the whole thing was, and this is one thing I didn't even know. Again, from this documentary, Jerry Krause was talking about rebuilding. That's why he was letting Phil Jackson go. He didn't care about keeping Scottie. He was openly going to trade him. It's like you're going to a rebuild, but you thought Michael was just going to be there for a rebuild.
Yeah.
You just won 3 in a row. It's crazy to me.
I agree with that. I just think that in today's age, I don't think that LeBron would have got that same grace, right? Because this is like I don't think he would have got that same grace. Right. I think that it's overlooked when we do these comparisons. It's just even the media coverage of him, right? Earlier today, I was listening to Skip Bayless talk about how he was a beat reporter back then, right? And so he was literally covering that Bulls team day in and day out, right? And he said that he came across information that he found out where Michael Jordan was smoking cigars every game day before the game. Like it was like a pregame ritual for him to smoke cigars.
Yeah.
And he found out about it and was like appalled by it. And as a reporter, now he's a reporter, like, so we know, and you don't even gotta be, you could be TMZ. Today, if somebody find that out, they selling the information to somebody, right? He said he found out about it and was appalled and was going to do a story on it, and then decided, he's Jordan, I'll just let him ride it out, right? That would never happen today. If they found out that LeBron,
it would be out for sure.
That LeBron dropped his toothbrush on the floor, picked it up, and put it in his mouth, it would make headline news, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
it's a different day.
It's a different day, and I think that we don't think about these things in terms of we let the history wash away so much, you know, and we talk about even them as players off the court, right? LeBron has had a squeaky clean legacy off the court, right? Can you imagine if Michael Jordan was going through his career in the social media era?
No, it'd be a lot different.
The cocaine
it'd be a lot different.
It'll be a lot different. Like for instance, I'm not a big fan of Michael Jordan, the person, right?
Me neither.
But the guy, he just won. Like
just won.
I think in this era he would win. He would average 45 to 46 points. Right? You got to remember, you can't touch Michael Jordan, right? Like in this era, right? James Harden is averaging 37. Can you imagine what Michael Jordan would do with his athletic ability, his strength, his shooting ability, his IQ, his heart, and his competitiveness? Like it would just be, so while I do understand the point of the different era and the different media circuits that's going around now, I think that Michael Jordan would benefit more from the media circuits because we would see this story a lot quicker than having to wait till 2020 to see The Last Dance and see what was going on with Jerry Krause and so we will understand a lot of things that went on.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I don't know when the cigar thing started, but the truth is, it would be crazy because everyone would be talking about it. But if he's just winning championships every year, like no one can say anything. As soon as he loses, all of a sudden, the cigar, the fucking cigars, man. You know what I mean?
Nobody cared.
But it wasn't there because when he did lose, there wasn't still the circus that that surrounds LeBron when he loses, right? Like Kendrick Perkins came out and he had a good quote. He said, if it was a tweet, he said, if LeBron scores 63 and 49 in a series and gets swept, every sports network is talking about his ability to get it done. While MJ is getting praised and awarded player of the game in losses and sweeps, right? So I think this is a big narrative that LeBron fans are frustrated about because we go, that it happened. Like he did lose. He got swept in 85 and in 86, right? He did lose. And when he lost in 87, they only won one game. And it was to the Milwaukee Bucks, who had one Hall of Famer on their team, right? These things, he was still smoking cigars and doing all that, right? And he's
let me ask you,
no one brings these things up unless you're in an argument about, you know what I mean?
He was smoking cigars. What's that?
Let me ask you a question, Joe. When you look at LeBron play down the clutch, how many games has he lost by himself, and how many games has he put his teammates in a position to lose? So, for instance, Game 3 of the NBA Finals, the second year, KD's first year, Game 3, LeBron got into the paint, had an easy fadeaway jump shot at home. He kicked it out to Kyle Korver for the 3 for the win because Kyle Korver was wide open. But he's in the paint, right? What's your thoughts on plays like that? I always like to ask LeBron fans about that.
So you saying you feel like he should have taken the shot? You saying like he shouldn't have passed the ball?
I'm saying that the reason why Michael Jordan gets so many passes, or there's no what ifs in Michael Jordan's catalog, right? There's no what if he took that shot, or why didn't he take that shot, right? He took the shot, he made it, or he took the shot, he missed it, and we know. Well, LeBron, we never know. We don't know if he takes that shot, do they win the game, do they win the series? And I think that's the frustrating part that a lot of people have with LeBron is that, yes, it's great. Like, I understand as someone that was a shooter, right? I was a scorer. I love to shoot the ball. I talk to my brothers all the time about this, right? There's a play where I pull up for a game winner and there are 4 people on me, right? And some people say, oh, you a jack. But I'm like, that's a shot I work on all the time. I got past my man and I got to my spot. I don't see the 4 people, right? And I think that's the mindset of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. And that's kind of what LeBron is missing in those big moments.
So you're right in a sense of it's a problem for certain people. It's not a problem for me because it's a stylistics thing, right? Like that's his game LeBron's game is very different from Jordan's game, right? LeBron's game, even his worst enemies call him a basketball savant, right? They call him a basketball genius, right? So LeBron's game is always chess, right? It's not like I'm here to knock you over and this I see ball, I see hoop, put ball in hoop. That's not LeBron's game, right? So a lot of fans of LeBron understand that about LeBron. So when he is in the NBA Finals and he hits who was that? J.R. Smith or somebody for a layup under the basket and he misses it. I'm not upset at LeBron for hitting a wide open NBA player for a layup, and I'm not upset with him because I know his game and I appreciate that part of his game because the same way that guy might miss the layup and lose and people kill him is the same way that we'll praise him if that guy makes the layup and we go look at what he did, right? I'm saying we got to keep that same energy because the same way that if something happens and we kill him and the guy misses the layup, Jordan had failures too. The Steve Kerr shot, LeBron Jordan could have won the game with a 2-pointer that he missed before the shot, but we don't hear about it because nobody talks about it, right? We watch away. So when I say keep that same energy, I'm saying we got to stop talking about Michael Jordan on the court like he literally never failed and never missed a shot, he missed clutch shots. He missed game winners, right? LeBron on paper, LeBron has more game winners than Jordan does, right? But it's not talked about because it washes away Jordan's squeaky clean image.
You know why I think it's not talked about, and I realize this right now. is the big moments. So they both got big moments, right? We're talking about an apple and an orange here. Like they're different players that are both incredible for what they do. So you start breaking it down to these little things. But in the big moments, MJ swings it. Paxson might miss the shot. Then he didn't take the shot. Why didn't he take the shot? No one cares why he didn't take the shot. All they know is that they lost and they lose the championship. Steve Kerr, so my point is Steve Kerr does the same thing, right? My point is just because it worked out in some of the biggest moments of his career, and those are all in the championship, I think that's why. And then, of course, he's got the big shot, the big game winners in the playoffs and the championships too. I just think it was in those big moments. We can go through all the moments, and maybe Jordan misses way more game winners than LeBron. But in the big moments,
he does. It's not a maybe.
More.
He does.
I also think Jordan,
but
I don't have the stats in front of me. I also think he's taken a lot more of those big moments. Like the moment that sticks out to me is LeBron and Kobe in the All-Star game. And LeBron has an opportunity to win the game against Kobe, and he passes to D. Will in the corner, right? And Kobe slaps him on his head and yells at him like come at me, like this is a moment.
Yeah.
Right. There are times to be a really, really smart player, and there are times to say, I'm going to win or lose this game on my own, right? If you give your kid your $10 million car to drive and he crashes, it's not the kid's fault.
Yeah.
Right? You gave that child the keys knowing that they weren't ready to handle that type of luxury. Right? And that's what I feel like LeBron does a lot, right? Where a guy like Kobe or Jordan, they'll come out and miss their first 10 shots. But if I miss and 2 people or 5 eyes or 10 eyes on me, that means my teammate is open for an offensive rebound and we're starting to offense, right? So it's just a different mentality. I don't think it's a selfish way of playing. I think instead of passing those guys the ball, I let them get their points on garbage, get their confidence up. And then as the game goes on, then I get them the ball.
I agree with you. I got
to be honest, Mike. I really thought I plan on coming on here and getting ganged up on about the Michael Jordan LeBron thing. But Joe, can we have Mike on every week?
I agree. I agree with you that it is a different mentality, and I appreciate both.
A triple host show.
I appreciate both mentalities. My only contention is, let's keep that same energy when we kill LeBron for something. Let it not just be the historians and a few LeBron fans that's like, wait a minute, Jordan did the same thing and nobody said nothing. You know what I'm saying? When I say keep that.
No.
I'm not saying
Jordan got 6 championships, man. He's 6-0. He got 6 championships, and he dominated.
It's not about the championships to me. It's about when we comparing these moments, a lot of times it's left out as if Jordan didn't have these moments, right? Like that's my issue, because it's not even brought to it's not even thought about. It's like he failed and he did this and did and it's like, wait a minute.
My favorite commercial of all time, and this actually is why as an adult I've come to love Jordan, and while when I used to really dislike Kobe a lot, I really didn't like Kobe in his prime, and I put a post when he passed about this because of that same mentality, which I didn't notice in Michael as a kid, but I noticed in Kobe, which is the same mentality as an adult, because I'm like, this guy's an asshole. But where was I going with that? My point was the failures are why I became to like both of them more, because of what they did with failure. Yeah, and I didn't deal with failure very well as a young athlete, and I wasn't really taught to or trained to. My favorite commercial of all time is that MJ commercial where he talks about all his failures.
Right.
And says, I failed
Me
over
too.
and over and over. It's my favorite commercial ever because he's not perfect. Like Michael made mistakes all the damn time. You know what I mean? But
and that's what I appreciate about Jordan's game, and that's what people struggle with LeBron's game. Like miss that shot. Right, airball that shot in the playoffs. Have your team lose because you missed the shot, more often. And I think people would definitely appreciate LeBron's game a little bit more. When you talk about Jordan and LeBron, there's squeaky clean on the court, right? There's maybe 0.1% of a flaw, right, in each of their games. So we're definitely talking at a high level here.
Yeah,
And
we
that's why
definitely
you have
going
to
we
go to
nitpicking
things
because
like,
they're the great, so we gonna nitpick, you know. Right.
and
Yeah,
that's,
we
and,
gotta find
and
something.
that's why you got to talk about mentality and, who gets it done,
But
right?
it's
If I had 51 in a playoff game in game one against the Warriors, I'm not passing it George Hill into the basket.
but
I
see
can't
that's the
because I worked so hard.
that's the thing. If that was LeBron's mentality, he would not be LeBron. He would not be the LeBron that we praise. He would not be the LeBron that we put in this conversation, right? If LeBron's mentality was Jordan, he wouldn't be LeBron. He would be some watered down version of Kobe. You
Do you know
understand?
how many shots? Do you know how many shots LeBron shot that game?
And that game one loss,
Hmm.
a lot.
I think it was. That's Jordan mentality.
No,
That's
right,
not
right, right,
usually him. Usually
right.
he's like.
But it's not
Usually he's like.
24/7.
That's the problem. He had probably his greatest playoff game ever in that game, right? And they lost because he didn't keep up that same pace and that same energy. If he continues to play like that, he takes a pull. He had a one-on-one situation. Just take the pull-up jump shot. Why put your teammate that gets paid less, of lesser talent, right? Is probably scared of the moment. In George
Listen,
Hill, he's
if you
never
in the
been on that
NBA, I
stage.
don't
He's
care
never
what you
been.
getting paid. You need to make a fucking layup. I don't want to hear
You
how
can't.
much you.
It's
You need
it's
to make a
still
fuck.
it's still basketball, man. It's still
Right.
basketball, and these guys still get scared of the moment, and they still have fears in the moment. And as the star player, who's puts the team on their shoulder, who's been there 8 to 9 times, you have to especially in game one,
But
right? You got to recognize that.
his mentality, LeBron's mentality, is a part of what makes him different and what makes him great. So I can't get on board with saying I wish he had somebody else's, because then he wouldn't be LeBron, right? I saw a meme the other day before you hop in, JT. I saw a meme the other day that I reposted. And I said, this is the closest to an agreement that you're gonna get from a lot of Jordan and LeBron fans. It said in 3 columns. It had LeBron, it had Jordan, and then it had Kobe. And it said LeBron, greatest all around. Jordan, greatest legacy. Kobe, greatest scorer, right? And so that LeBron greatest all around label that a lot of people put on him is because of his mentality, right? Because
That's true. Yeah.
so it's a part of
He's the
it's a
greatest
part of his,
all around.
it's a
Yeah,
part of
he's
his
the
strength.
greatest all around. Yeah, for sure.
It's a
And
part
that's
of his
why
strength, So go ahead.
that's why, even though the debates are fun, I mean, I have a blast debating it, but at the end of the day, and especially as guys that all played the game here and love the game very much, you appreciate Larry Bird for what he was. And he did certain things better than Magic, and he did certain things better than Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Neither one of those guys could ever shoot like Larry Bird.
Right.
Very few guys
Yeah.
can. He's one of the greatest shooters. I mean, just incredible things, especially at 6'8", 6'9". Magic,
Right.
the
Yeah.
things he did, LeBron, they're so unique to themselves
Right.
that you kind of just have to sit back and just appreciate what they
Absolutely.
can do, and the fact that they're the greatest at what they did that's ever lived. Like, no one's done
Yeah.
Larry Bird better than that. No one's done Magic better than that.
Yeah.
And so
And,
it's tough when you do the debate stuff, but
and that's why I always rely on mentality, right? It's kind of like the Steph Curry and Allen Iverson debate. When people try to debate me about that, and I always say,
Who
Matthew
tried to
Dellavedova.
debate you about Steph Curry versus Allen
A
Iverson?
lot of people.
Tell
A
him
lot
to
of
go
people
home
think
and never leave.
I always say Matthew Dellavedova will never lock down Allen Iverson.
Never,
Right? Jason
never.
Terry, Jason Kidd will never lock down Michael Jordan. Right? You
Never.
can't erase those moments from LeBron's legacy when you compare him to people like Jordan, Kareem, and Kobe. Right? Because those moments count, and those, if we're talking about the greatest of all time, you have to include those things. And I feel like that's where a Jordan mentality is needed. That's where a D Wade mentality is needed, right? Even if he had D Wade's mentality, I think he would be above Jordan.
I think
Right.
I think the beautiful thing about LeBron's game to me is that that mentality that he has, right? I think that the mentality that he has is the reason why he's the only player in NBA history to lead his team in 4 categories in the finals, right?
Absolutely.
And this is also due to him being adapting to the life, the NBA life that he's had to live. Jordan was never asked to do as many things as teams asked LeBron to do, right? Jordan had Steve Kerr to pass the ball. He had Scottie Pippen to defend the best defender on the other team. He had the greatest rebounder.
That's actually not true.
He had the
That's
greatest
not true at all.
rebounder. He had the
That's not
greatest
true at all.
rebounder of all time on his team, right? Scottie Pippen led the team in assists, right? So when you Dennis Rodman led the team in rebound. LeBron James on many of the teams
MJ though
was leading the team in assists, scoring, rebounding. Like, so it's like his mentality is the reason why he's able to do that. If he doesn't have that mentality, he's not going to be the only player in finals history to lead his team in 4 categories. Like, it's gonna change the player. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, well, for me, I was going to say, first of all, and when you first said that, I thought you were right, just because it seems to make sense because we talked about that last time. MJ actually checked the best player on the other team. Scottie didn't.
Scottie Pippen. Scottie was that team's best defender. He was long. I
don't know.
Michael Jordan was Defensive Player of the Year multiple times.
So was Scottie.
But
anytime they made those lists together.
But MJ checked it. But not the list. I'm saying Defensive Player of the Year. My point is he checked the best player on the team. So he didn't say Dwayne Wade or somebody else, you go check the best player so I can.
No, a lot of the time Scottie was that guy. Scottie was a defensive weapon. Phil Jackson said it.
No, of course he's a defensive weapon, but that doesn't mean he guarded the best player every time. Is my point.
Not every time, but he did. And what I'm saying is Jordan had a guy like that who was known as one of the best. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Whereas LeBron in his prime is asked to do that himself. He was asked to sit in the chair for 43 minutes himself. He was asked to rebound at average double. He was asked to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the mentality is what helped him do that.
For me, the edge, and I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about all-around stats, no one messes with LeBron. I mean, he fills up the stat sheet unlike anybody we've ever seen.
Yeah.
For me, I just feel I was thinking about what are the most important parts of basketball. I mean, aside from when you talk about mentality, those are the little tiny things that start separating great players. Yeah. But to me, it's scoring and it's defense.
Yeah.
And MJ was arguably every year the best defensive player in the league, and he was not arguably the greatest scorer of probably of all time, but certainly of his generation. And that's what kind of gives me the edge too. And he was, if you look at his averages, his career averages in rebounds and assists actually aren't that much lower than LeBron, which surprised me. I mean, it's like 1.5. Right. But the scoring is significantly higher. And in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, he was a better defender. MJ was an incredible defender.
I don't think he was. I think LeBron can defend all 5 positions in his prime, and Jordan couldn't do that.
Well, that's about perspective and errors, right? LeBron couldn't check David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon. He wouldn't be able to check those guys. He can check a DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, right? These are the centers of these days. So that's all about the era that we're playing in. As far as LeBron having to do everything, he constructs his teams like that, right? The reason why he struggled so much that first year in Miami is because he had a Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen as a sidekick, and he struggled with that, right? He can't play off the ball as well as he is on the ball, right? Especially in those big moments. That's why he struggled so much in the finals with Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade had to take a back seat and let LeBron take over and do everything, which in turn, I think that's the reason why D-Wade got out of shape and had so many injuries those 2 years, because he kind of took a back seat. If LeBron could ever, they probably would have won, 3 or 4 straight chips if LeBron could have been second fiddle or played a Batman type of role. But LeBron has to be the guy on his team.
I don't think D-Wade could do it anymore. I don't think he could do it. I don't think he could do it anymore.
He averaged 28 in that finals.
Yeah, I'm saying, to me, watching D-Wade, to me, it looked like he was on his way down. Like, to me, I think LeBron leaving Miami was a result of D-Wade declining. I don't think LeBron or any player ever wants to have to take on that load. LeBron was killing himself. Like, he was dehydration and all that. Like, I don't think any player wants to do that.
I think he does until the big moment, right? That's why Kyrie took all the big shots. That's why D-Wade took all the big shots. LeBron to get you there, but he doesn't want that big moment.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. And to be honest, I think we never used to have these debates, man. Like people would talk about, was Magic better, or is Bird better, or is Jordan better? But it's just with media, it's become such a thing to like debate who's better.
I don't think there was ever a real threat to Jordan until LeBron, and I think a lot of people feel that.
Well, Kobe for sure, especially when he got.
I don't ever remember hearing that about Kobe.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, no. For sure.
The Kobe Jordan thing was never to what LeBron Jordan is. Well, never.
Yeah, it was.
It was pretty close. Yeah.
Kobe got 5 chips.
It was the reason it's not as big is because LeBron's better than Kobe.
I think the reason it's not as big is because a lot of people see Kobe as a carbon copy. Like, you can't be better than something if you strive to be that thing and you never made it. Like Kobe literally modeled his game, the way he walked, the way he dressed, the way he modeled his game after Jordan so much and never got to that point. He never eclipsed Jordan or got to Jordan's level. So I don't think I think that's the reason why there was never knockdown, drag out arguments for hours and years about Kobe and Jordan the way it is about LeBron. People gonna argue this LeBron Jordan thing until our kids got kids, and it was never like that with Kobe.
It may not be the same level, but also, media even since 7-8 years ago has gotten crazy. But you're right. Kobe was built just like Jordan. His game was just he should have modeled his game after Jordan because he was almost the same size, even a little bigger. There was a short time, and even as a Jordan guy, that season when he scored 81, like there were certain times where I was like, wow, he may be there. He may have even been for a season because he was absolutely incredible. But I think what the problem is that LeBron didn't ask to be in a position where he's going to be compared to Jordan. LeBron isn't a Jordan type of player. LeBron is a Magic Johnson type of player who just happens to have so much freakish athleticism that he's able to go out and score 40. That wasn't really Magic's game. Magic could do it and had done it, but he wasn't a guy that was going to go average 30-something a game. I don't know what Magic's career scoring. He wasn't really a scorer. He could just do it because he had some ability and he had size to do it and he could handle the ball. But that's not really his game. Magic Johnson came into the league. He wasn't Rookie of the Year because I was Larry Bird, but obviously became one of the greatest players of all time right from a rookie. Took a huge role, took a huge shot as a rookie when Kareem was out, played center. Amazing LeBron type of things, right? But that wasn't it. His game was that he was able to win championships right from the get-go because he played with Kareem, who at the time was considered the greatest player ever. Right? Yeah. Before Larry and Magic came in and kind of took that argument, Kareem was considered the greatest. So he comes in and has the luxury of playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy, Michael Jordan's former college teammate, who was also a Hall of Famer. And they always had guys around these guys, man. They always were stocked with talent. So it's a different thing. And that's where LeBron would really thrive because if he's on stacked teams, he's able to do what he does best, which is find other great players that will make the right play and score when he needs to.
Yeah.
But instead, we're comparing him to a guy who, as a scorer, is just a straight killer, and all he sees is him in the hoop. You know what I mean? It's just it's two totally different, and neither one is wrong. We praise Jason Kidd because of his passing ability.
Yeah.
No one thought Jason Kidd was a great scorer. He was an incredible passer, but that's why we love him. But meanwhile, because LeBron likes to pass, he does get killed because we think he should be taking the big shots like Kobe or MJ. And you're right. That's not his mentality, and it's not a wrong mentality, but it's just because they're comparing him to the other number 23.
Yeah, and that formula that Kobe and Jordan displayed has yielded some great results, right? 6 championships and 5 championships, and that's why we, think it's the right way to do things.
Right, but then there's a guy like Tim Duncan who was a great scorer as well, but kind of a little more team mentality that went on 1-5.
Yeah, he had a great team around
that's what
him.
I mean. Because I'm like, I don't think that the result is a direct correlation to the style. Like, I don't think that Kobe doesn't have 5 championships because I've seen Kobe shoot his team out of games, right? Kobe had the luxury of having one of the most unstoppable forces in NBA history on his team. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So I think that little nugget is a huge reason why Kobe has 5 championships. Neither Kobe or Michael Jordan have championships without the greatest coach of all time coaching them, right? That's a little factor, right? Michael Jordan had the opportunity to play with what people consider maybe the greatest rebounder of all time. There's a lot of things that went into 6 championships and 5 championships, right? And I think that, to me, it's not solely because of their style, because I think that had LeBron been afforded some of these luxuries, he would have 5 and 6 himself. He had 3 with Cadaver Dogs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's one of those things where I think that there's a lot of context that needs to go into it to really, I mean, you know, it's a lot of nuance, I think, that goes into it. It's not just strictly style.
And that's the problem right there with LeBron fans, right? You guys always willing to make it all about LeBron, and that's how he is, right? Where you take a guy like Jordan, who's quick to say it was my teammates. I wouldn't be here without my teammates, right? And LeBron will come out and say I'm the GOAT, right? And his fans kind of follow suit, right? When the teammates mess up, right? You can't say Chris Bosh. You can't say, hold on.
That ain't LeBron. That you flip-flopped it, because Jordan is the guy who punched his teammate in the face. Jordan is the guy who said that his teammate, who was making $2 million the year he was making $3 million, was selfish for wanting to get paid. LeBron is definitely the better teammate, for sure, as far as between those two.
I think that teammates would argue the opposite of those guys. Right?
I think we could go.
I fought, and when you're at that competitive level, you're going to fight. I think teammates fight at that level all the time. I don't think that's an unusual thing, especially during those days when you got guys like Charles Oakley on the team, right? I just think that when you talk about mentality and you talking about kind of reflect your team reflecting your mentality, I think that's where guys like Jordan and Kobe always win that discussion, right? And LeBron, he gets all the praise in the world, but I know that the media kills him, but he's been given a lot of excuses on why he hasn't gotten it done. And the biggest excuse has been, you know, his teammates, right? When you talk about Jordan, he developed Scottie Pippen, right? He made Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson didn't come in as a great coach. He made Phil Jackson. He developed Scottie Pippen. Dennis Rodman was Dennis Rodman, right? He was a rebounder, great rebounder, great defender. Ron Harper was right. Look, Jordan didn't have a great team, but what he did was he hid whatever those guys' weaknesses or deficiencies was. He hid those things, right? And he took it upon himself to make sure that those weaknesses didn't play out in the game.
I think Jordan did have a great team. I think Jordan did have a great team. And I think LeBron is notoriously known for making everyone around him better. Look at the guys who he played with.
I don't agree with that.
Look at the guys who he played with, who when he wasn't there, they look like some of them look like they shouldn't have been in the NBA.
Kevin Love was a 28-14 guy. He looks like he came and played with LeBron. All he could do is shoot threes.
Well, he had to fill. Well, because Kevin Love had to fill a role, right? Kevin Love wouldn't have won a championship if he was the Kevin Love in the team. Kevin Love was the 22-14 guy on a terrible team.
But he was 22-14, and he got to Cleveland, like he can't even post up anymore. But that's not making his guys better.
But he was on a terrible team, though. That's the thing. Like when you playing on a terrible team, the middle of the road guys is going to look like all-stars. You know what I mean?
Did Kevin Love shoot more threes or have more post-up opportunities in Cleveland?
He shot more threes.
And in Minnesota, he was posting up more.
Right. That was crazy to me too. I didn't know. Better. It was really strange to me how that happened, because I always knew him as a post-up player. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he got to Cleveland, he loses some weight, and he's shooting all these threes, and he's a decent shooter. But I was like, wasn't he in Minnesota just posting up all the time?
They had Chris Boston oppose it. It wasn't. He had to adapt, and he won a championship adapting.
To LeBron. LeBron never adapts.
No, he had to adapt to the team. That team had post guys on it. That team had Chris Bosh on it, right? So that was Chris Bosh's game. Chris Bosh is on the block. That wasn't LeBron's.
And he was shooting all threes with LeBron.
Who?
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh spent time on the block though still. Chris
No, he
Bosh was
didn't.
still in the paint. Chris Bosh wasn't a standalone 3-point shooter. He still was going down to the paint and getting his work because that was his game. That's the reason why Kevin Love got pushed out.
You're wrong, but I'll let you have it. You're wrong.
We can go a long time on that. What you say?
I just remember Chris Bosh, which is just the way it's going to happen when you bring in another great player as your third guy. He was taking a lot of heat the way Kevin Love took a lot of heat, which is he would have games where he'd have 12 points and 6-7 rebounds, and it's just like, why? At the very least, why aren't you able to rebound the ball? It's just, it changes. And I don't know if it's a knock on LeBron, but it's tough to do the same type of thing you do numbers wise.
It's basketball. Everybody can't be Batman. So you have to. The reason why they didn't win the first year is because him and Dwayne Wade, they have to do roles, right? Everybody can't be the head chef in the kitchen. Otherwise, ain't nothing gonna get cooked, right? So that's basketball. It can't be a knock on somebody for people to have to figure out how are we going to win with everybody doing the thing that is going to literally propel us as a whole into a winning situation. Everybody can't come in and Kevin Love can't come in and be the Kevin Love that he was in Minnesota because he was the guy in Minnesota. Same thing with Chris Bosh.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It's not an all-star game.
Because if that is LeBron's mentality, another player should be able to come in
and be.
It didn't happen in Golden State. This has never happened. No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't. Steph Curry took a step back to Kevin Durant.
Steph Curry always takes a step back though.
But Kevin
Durant
a better player.
He had to for them to win. That's my point. He had to for them to win. Steph Curry couldn't have been the Steph Curry that was the unanimous MVP and them still win a championship. And the proof is in the pudding. He wasn't. And they won 2 titles.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Durant's the better player. Kevin Durant's arguably, when it's all said and done, he'll be one of the greatest scorers of all time. I mean, it's incredible to watch.
You can't name one person that LeBron was the better player. You can't name one person that LeBron has made better.
Everybody. LeBron is literally every teammate look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving literally was in the lottery in Cleveland for years until LeBron got there.
Did he make him better or did he help him win?
All of a sudden, everybody thought Kyrie Irving was a world beater. He goes and trashes 2 teams and still is in controversy and them trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. And it was all because when he was with LeBron, he looked like a different person.
No, he like the same Kyrie Irving. He was doing it before LeBron got there.
If he was the same Kyrie Irving, he wouldn't went to that Celtics team that went to the playoffs and went to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. He would have won a championship with that team if he was the same Kyrie Irving. He wasn't.
No, because he's not LeBron. Because he's not LeBron. No,
that Celtics team was loaded. That Celtics team had enough talent to win without him. When you add him on that Celtics team, they should have took off. There's no reason why they shouldn't have took off, other than Kyrie Irving.
There's a reason he's not LeBron James or Kevin Durant, right? But when we put things in perspective, LeBron didn't make Kyrie better. LeBron didn't make Kevin Love better. He didn't make J.R. Smith better. He doesn't make anyone
I think Kyrie Irving would disagree with you. Like Kyrie Irving, when he apologized to LeBron, he said that him being there helped him to be a better player. He said that in his apology when he came out and said the thing that he said about leaving and all that stuff. And then he had issues in Boston, and then he came out and apologized, and he said it.
I disagree.
Well, so we can go back and forth about the Jordan thing for a very long time. It's the never-ending debate, and it's gonna be for from now into perpetuity. Let's end on this. There was a video that surfaced of Draymond Green talking about Kevin Durant leaving the Warriors and how he felt as though Kevin Durant should have given them a heads up. And he was on a podcast and basically was just saying that, they were talking about The Last Dance in the Jordan documentary. And basically he was saying in our last season with Kevin, we had an elephant in the room that he felt that the Bulls didn't have. They knew this is our last season, so we can go, this is what we're going to go out and do. And he said, he was basically saying that he thinks that they were kind of robbed of having that because of Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant not coming to them and saying, listen, I'm leaving and this is what it is, or this is what it's not, or I'm staying. What do you guys think about, I know both of you guys saw the clip. What do you guys think about that, and what Draymond Green's stance is basically like he felt like he should have came out and said something, you know? And so what do you think about that?
As a Warriors fan, I thought that was interesting, especially after a little bit of what we discussed earlier with Pippen, because the whole thing with it's always perspective and it's always nuanced based on what the situation is right now. In one situation, some people might not be bothered that someone didn't come out and talk about a certain topic or whatever. In another situation, people get really bothered. Scottie Pippen, I think the thing with MJ wasn't that he wanted more money. He was saying you had the opportunity to deal with this and get the surgery at the end of the season, which is what you're supposed to do. But rather than do that, you're upset about not getting paid, which is a contract you signed. And then at the beginning of the season, you decide that you're going to get the surgery and then be pushed back and not be able to play till later. That's why he thought it was selfish. Now, Scotty's got to do what he's got to do. I don't know who's right or wrong. I wasn't there. But with the Kevin Durant thing, Draymond's very vocal. He's got his opinions. And it seems like what he's saying is, by you not saying something, you're putting us in a position where we have to. And maybe at first that wasn't your plan. You weren't doing that on purpose. But after you realize that you're just throwing your teammates out there to have to answer these questions all the time, which it does seem like they could just be like, no comment. I mean, you're going to get asked stuff and you can just say no comment. I personally, in today's NBA, I think Kevin's weird. I think he's a little bit annoying.
100%.
If he was my teammate, he'd probably annoy the crap out of me.
100%.
But in today's environment of sports, it doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't bother me like Kyrie seems like a dick to play with. He just seems like a weirdo. I wouldn't want to be in a locker room with Kyrie. He just seems like you say, he goes to the Celtics, who should have been poised to win a championship.
Yeah.
And it's not just that he was battling injury or they didn't win a championship. It's just that he seemed to mess the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And that's just what he seems to do. He seems to mess shit up. Kevin Durant isn't that guy, but
he's close.
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely weird, but it's tough. But see, again, winning changes things.
If you win, it doesn't matter.
You go to, what was it, four straight finals with him? Is that what it was? And win two?
I think it was 3.
No, they went to 2,
right?
2 straight winning.
2 straight.
3. 2 straight,
4?
I think. Nah.
No, that wasn't 4.
I think it was 2 straight. They won 2 before he got there.
Yeah, and then lost.
And then they went 2 straight back to back.
Yeah.
But
so
then they lost to Cleveland. Oh, before KD got
He
there.
was hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
He was hurt in the last one.
So he comes and if he's healthy, you win 3 in a row, first of all. But he's not. So you got back-to-back change. So it's easier to kind of give him a pass when he helped you do that. You know what I mean? Than otherwise, because Kyrie didn't do anything. So I'm going to deal with your bullshit, and you're going to come in and do nothing for the franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Chips. Yeah, I mean, I think that, and this is kind of my issue with this era, even though Draymond's not much younger than me, it's kind of like when you post something on social media and you push send, right? Now, what Draymond was saying, I definitely don't agree with, but I think that's more of a private conversation and not to be discussed on a podcast or a TV show. Right. There's a cardinal rule in the world of professional sports, especially basketball and I think football. You don't discuss or tell people how to handle their contract or money. Public knows or needs to know. So while I do agree with some of the things that Draymond was saying, I do, however, think that he was, a little out of pocket for saying it. You're answering questions about whether or not you're going to be there next year. Right?
No comment.
I mean, if we want to put it in the simplest forms, it's not the end of the world for you to answer those questions. Yes, KD can come out and say, I want to be here, but maybe he just really didn't know.
Yeah,
right? Maybe he wanted. Maybe he misses his family on the side of the world. Maybe he has different business ventures over here. Maybe he wants to establish. Right? He just doesn't know at that time. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And knowing KD, and that could be a possibility. He probably didn't know at the time.
Right.
I also love Draymond, and I'm a big Dubs fan. but he's kind of a baby. And if he was my teammate, he's one of those guys that I probably would have punched in the face more than a few times in practice.
Yeah.
He's just, but he's very vocal, and that's part of why you love him. Like, I love watching him on the court act like a dick because he's on my team. You know what I mean? It's like watching a Dennis Rodman when I was rooting for the Bulls. It's just like you love it because that's part of the character of your team,
And like you continuously say, you're winning.
Exactly.
When you win, it works.
And he may not have been one of the top, like, he may be a Hall of Famer just because of the winning he's done in Golden State, but he's not a Hall of Famer based on the stats.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to his teammates, he's a Hall of Famer because he's one of those glue guys that gives you the character. And he's been there since day one. Didn't come in on a big contract, was drafted to be there just like Clay and Steph. It's a homegrown thing that they've built there. So, he may feel he reserves the right to talk on some of those things, But I love you, Draymond. If I ever run into you, don't punch me in the face.
Just don't get involved in people's contracts and money and business. You just can't speak on that stuff. You never know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, let's get out of here on this. Before we started this podcast today, we had some of the weirdest breaking news that I've heard in a while. It was basically the Patriots traded retired Rob Gronkowski to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's a very confusing thing. Like, I'm not really sure what to make, but it's happening.
It's apparently breaking Twitter. I keep getting alerts on here that Twitter's crashing from it. But it makes total sense. He's healthy. He's been sitting back, and now his boy's in Tampa Bay. He's the greatest tight end ever. He retired young. He's feeling good. Now he's going to go. Absolutely. What's new about that?
The one thing it does not make is total sense. They have not one, but two top 5, top 10 tight ends in the league, and they're signing a guy who's been retired and out of the NFL for 2 years and was injured and was dealing with injury after injury.
That's Brady's guy, man.
You know what? I'm gonna agree.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna agree with you. It when I look at situations where you have really, really good players and then you want to add another really, really good player, it makes no sense to me at all.
It's been over 2 years.
That's more reason I want to sign him.
That's more reason because he can ease himself in.
He's hitting the massage parlor. He's getting that massage. He's recovering. He's working out. He feels good.
And he's only like 30, right? He's young.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just take 2 years off of professional football and just hop back on the field. It's just going to be normal. Like, what?
I might call the Bucks right now and tell them I played flag football. I played flag football through 8th grade. Okay, through 8th grade, flag football. I was defensive player of the year on my 7th grade flag football team. I'll go play right now with Tom Brady.
And I'm a fantasy football champion. Mike, thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Tell us where we can follow you, watch anything you're doing, purchase anything you're selling. Tell us where. What's all your socials and all of that?
My IG is probably what I'm most active on. It's Mike Cook Jr. 52. You can follow me on there. That's probably my most active page. Right now I'm doing admissions and working in the athletic department at Friends Central, doing my part and giving back to the community and providing opportunities for other kids. IG is probably the best place, but I'll try to keep people updated as much as I can.
Dope. Y'all know I'm at Joe Connor 33 on everything. The page is Backstage Sports, FB on Facebook, Backstage Sports, Backstage SP on Twitter, but you can just type in Backstage Sports.
Yep. And mine is at JT Harker.
Okay. At JT Harker everywhere. You can find us on Spotify. Go to the Spotify, like and subscribe on the YouTube, and we're gonna definitely try to get Mike back on so I could chop him up some more about Jordan. But once again, we can't thank you enough. Thank you, Mike, for coming on and spending some time with us. And we will see you guys later. Until then, stay inside and stay safe. Peace.
For sure.